I'm on the street, and the street runs through Hullavington, and you can see that the hedges are quite wide apart. So it was always going to be at least a driveway, driftway, drove for moving cattle. They can have a bit of a munch while they're at it. And but of course that word street should ring bells for antiquity hunters. So we've got the street, and that's the modernised sort of post-medieval way of spelling street. But the Old English is strat, and that ultimately comes from Latin strata. And in 2 videos ago I was talking about the charter, certainly the landscape around Nable's farm, and the charter of Brokenborough, which is a massive 100 hide estate. Its southern boundary was Athelamares Imera, which means the boundary, the marches of Athelmere. And I didn't mention at the time what the next 2 landmarks of that charter are, because it would have set hairs running, because it then goes to Clayet, which means clay gate, and then goes up a Stratam Publicam, which is Latin for public street. The only roads in that period that had strata in them, layers of stone. Strata means exactly as it does mean today, strata, layers, are Roman roads. The early English, the anglo-saxons, didn't build roads like that, or certainly didn't do them on a large scale. I can't even prove they did them ever at all, but I imagine someone will say some port somewhere they had one. But anyway, that is the subject of today's video. Is this a Roman road or not? So how can we show this road is the Stratum Publicam of the charter, of the Brokenborough Charter? Well, it's quite difficult. All of this series has been quite difficult. Well, it goes from Athelamares Imera to Clayet, and then along the Stratum Publicam. Now, the modern parish of Hullavington, Athelmares Imera is along the bottom. It comes to a point where it turns, Clayet, and then the boundary goes up a footpath going north east, and that could be the Strata Publicam. But if you go 100, 200 yards to the left of it, parallel with it, along the same direction, you'll see the street. So I'm arguing that the modern parish boundary has been moved to allow the street to be to allow the village to not be split in two. But how do we know Claygate 1,000 years ago was on that corner? And that's the difficult part, because Grundy uses the basic hypothesis to prove where things are, is to look for similar sounding place names on modern boundaries. And that works about half the time. Unfortunately, it might not work here, because we also have a Saxon charter of Grittleton, its neighbour to the west, and we also have a charter of Sevington, its neighbour to the southwest. Now, the Grittleton charter has these markers, landmarks: the Aldegora, the Clarieta, the Elder Stiba, the Older Burgh Southward. And what that tells us, the Clariete is there, but it also has those landmarks are also similar on the Sevington charter, where it has on Thona Garon, a gore, which is a triangular piece of land. Brockes Bia, the bow in the brook, which I can show you. And then we have there on the Eldon Earthbury, so we've got an old borough, just like we have in Grittleton. And then we have Thona on Stibba, which is another stib, a stump, which is a tree stump. Because we can demonstrate with those two charters where the earth borough and the stib is, because they talk of the same things, it's much more, and it both of the, and the one of Grittleton, this is very complicated. This is what I can't, very hard to explain. But anyway, and I've been practicing this as well. A stump we're not going to find in modern times. That was 1,000 years ago. But in the Grittleton charter, it has a Clariete, and the Elderborough and the Stib. The Sevington one doesn't have the Clariete, but does have the Old Borough and the stump. Therefore, it's more likely that there's not likely to be two clay gates in this district. Therefore, the clay gate is likely to be over where we can argue the Old Borough and the stump is. The Old Borough, I think, is Robertsbury Farm. I'm not alone in this. So we're sort of falling. We have evidence against this being the Roman road, and the Strata Publicam is the Fossway. Now in the Brokenborough charter, because it's massive, it's 100 hides. So that would be, so that'd be 12,000 acres. Massive estimate that is. It's a massive old estate. It goes to two Stratam Publicans. I'm probably arguing there's only one, and it's the Fossway. It just goes there, comes back, goes around a bit, then goes back to the strata. There's some interesting place names further on, including the Kingsway, the Stretford Ingleburn, but he mentions with the second mention of a stratum publicum, it mentions anciently called the Strata, today called the Foss, and that's one of the pieces of evidence that we have that it is always, you know, for 1,000 years been called the Fossway. So I've been getting a bit of mockery, how that it seemingly on my channel all hedges have been approved by Alfred the Great. This is a much newer hedge, if you can see, and even then I can see 3 species. So one of the first things I do is, do I get the impression this is newish, i.e. 200 years or less, and so just 3 species is 360 years according to Hooper, but that's without filtering out those hedges we know are new. So we've got the sloe. And we've got the wild rose, almost definitely self-seeded. And we've also got the hawthorn. Look at those wicked thorns there. And that's it. 3 species. But I know it's not 360 years old. It's got the impression of something new. So this is why we filter, because the Hooper method is number of woody species times 110 plus 30. And it doesn't work with newer hedges. I can't get over how beautiful it is in summer here. It is going to get wrecked by the lime down, what do you call it, solar panel farm. This is that solar panel field I showed you last time making the infernal hum, and this is it on the map, the red mark. These pink areas are what it's going to be like in the future once development goes ahead. 2,000 acres. I'll show you a map here, and you can see the bit that I showed you the day before yesterday where it is already solar panels, and it made a horrible sound. If I lived there I'd be really annoyed, but it's going to be massive, greatly expand on that. And so I've gone from you bunch of NIMBYs stop whining to bloody hell, what are they doing to your countryside? So the evidence is stacked up at the moment against this being a Roman road. I am slightly higher. No, I'm not. I'm not higher than the ground around me. So I don't think we have an agger either. It's definitely bendy, but then so's the ridgeway, and that's accepted as being Romanised. So what do you think? There's at the end of this road, instead of turning to another street marked the street, if you carry on, not very far, just a half mile or so, in Stanton, in Stanton Park there is a Roman villa. We could have two Roman roads. My conclusion though is I don't think so, but let me know in the comments. That stream was the Brokenborough of the charters. Gores today probably means the gorse bush, and Corston, the village, is named after it. I was speaking to a couple of locals and they didn't know that Corston was named after the gorse. Asked me why why if that's so, that it's spelt so differently, and the answer is laziness in our language, in a drift in the language. The same thing happened with Cerney. People who live in Cerney village, South Cerney, have no idea their village is named after the churn. And so is Cirencester, Cirencester, or there's been a back formation at some point. But there's much about our parishes that we don't know, that a lot of us don't know. So subscribe and press that bell button, and then you'll be kept up to date by me.